Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. Dear students, Rao's IAS Prelims Test Series 2021 is a complete testing and revision course for the upcoming prelims examination. The program will help you prepare for UPSC prelims through a step-up approach. It is a meticulously designed study plan to organize your preparation and keep you on track towards covering the prelims GS and CSAT syllabus extensively from NCERT to the advanced level. The goal of our Prelims Test Series 2021 program is to exhaustively cover all standard sources of study material, including NCERT, with a study plan to test you at par with UPSC level of questions, thereby improving your chances of clearing the prelims examination. To give multiple revision of the entire syllabus from the perspective of civil service prelims pattern. The test series program will also give you the final revision of all topics and themes before the examination through QIP videos and prelims compass notes. The QIP videos or Quality Improvement Program videos are for speedy revision of all important topics for the upcoming prelims examination. QIP videos are kind of crash course for the prelims examination. And prelims compass are 8 subject-wise prelims compilation of all static and current affair topics important for the upcoming prelims. Rao's IAS Prelims Test Series 2021 will include topics test, testing the concept of candidate. It will include thematic test on both the concept and the current affair of that particular theme. It will also include current affair tests covering the monthly current affairs. And there will be full-length test before the final exam to simulate you for the D-Day. There is a link in the description of this video. You can click on the link for registration and to also check out the demo QIP videos. Welcome to today's DNS session. We are going to discuss today's newspaper, The Hindu, Delhi edition dated 8 February 2021. We shall pick up articles important for civil service examination and discuss them as per the demand of the exam. The articles that we are going to pick up for discussion have been tabulated in front of you and the time stamping for the same has been given in the description section. The first article is concerning the unfortunate incident that happened in Uttarakhand yesterday. The river Rishi Ganga and Dholi Ganga had flash floods. 7 people have died so far, 125 are missing. Paramilitary force ITBP along with local police and some battalion of army was carrying out the rescue operation, and many people are still believed to be trapped in the tunnel that was being carried out in the hydroelectric project on river Rishi Ganga. 2 of the hydroelectric project, one on Rishi Ganga and another on Dholi Ganga, has been wiped away. The incident has called back the memory of 2013 flash flood of Uttarakhand. But back then the reason was cloudburst. According to Indian Meteorological Department, there is no rain forecast. And according to the Central Water Commission, the water level in these rivers have normalized. So the reason for the flash flood this time is not heavy rain. Lots of life was saved because of the flood warning system that has been put in place in Uttarakhand. Because there is no rain forecast and water level in these rivers have normalized, so there is no further threat to life and property. But we are still juggling with the reason for the flash flood. National Crisis Management Committee, which is headed by the Cabinet Secretary, is betting on glacial burst. Glacial burst can happen in various forms. How exactly the glacial burst happened is not known yet. In order to better understand the incident, let's talk about little bit of basics of Ganga river system. First, we'll talk about river Dholi Ganga. River Dholi Ganga as such originate from multiple glaciers and its sources are many streams coming from the melting of glaciers. But one of the major glacial lake from where the river Dholi Ganga originate is Vasudhara Tal. But Vasudhara Tal is not the only source. There is no unique source of origin for river Dhauliganga unlike Alaknanda. So there are multiple streams coming from multiple sources as a result of melting of glaciers, and by the merger of all those multiple sources, river Dhauliganga originates and it flows almost southwest. Then it takes a turn eastward and reaches to a point called as Rani. During its course of downflow, it passes through Nanda Devi National Park. Within Nanda Devi National Park, there is Nanda Devi Glacier. Dhauliganga is joined by Rishi Ganga at this point called as Rani. When Rishi Ganga merges with Dhauliganga, the direction of flow of river Dhauliganga reverses, and from there again it starts to move southwest. At this point, which is Vishnu Prayag, river Alaknanda comes and meets Dhauliganga. From here, it is called as Alaknanda. Approximately at this point, there is Rishi Ganga hydroelectric power project, and midway between Rani and Vishnu Prayag, there is a NTPC Tapovan hydroelectric power project. Both of these projects have been affected. Flash flood has been observed both in Dhauliganga and Rishi Ganga. So far we have seen that river Dhauliganga passes through Nanda Devi National Park. You must observe and take note of these peripheral information that comes embedded in the main news. UPSC in 2013 asked this question to match national park with rivers that flows through them. Like Kurubas National Park was matched with Ganga, Kaziranga National Park with Manas, and Silent Valley National Park with river Kaveri. So if Nanda Devi National Park is matched with river Dhauliganga, that would be a correct match. Number 2, Nanda Devi National Park has lots of glaciers. Since it has lots of glaciers, that means the temperature there is quite low. The climatic condition will not be tropical. There was a question in 2015 prelims examination, which one of the following national parks has a climate that varies from tropical to subtropical, temperate and arctic. Nanda Devi National Park and Kanchenjunga National Park, they are on too high of latitude to have tropical climatic condition. Neora Valley National Park is in West Bengal and that will not have arctic climatic condition. Namdafa being in northeast will enjoy all kind of climatic condition. My point is you must pick this peripheral information from the news that Nanda Devi has lots of glaciers. So it will not have tropical climate. Now coming to the big question, what caused these flash floods in river Dhauliganga and Rishi Ganga? One of the explanation comes from glacial burst. Other explanations will include the factor of climate change that will accelerate the process of glacial burst, and yet other explanation will include glacial collapse leading to avalanche. The exact reason would be a matter of investigation, but we will talk about what possibly could have happened. See, possibility 1 is there might have been glacial outburst in the natural dams which are formed in the upper catchment area of river Dhauliganga, since there have been reported many earthquake incidents in the recent past. So what could have happened is landslide, since Himalaya has become prone to landslides. In fact, in 2016 there was a question, the Himalayas are highly prone to landslides. Discuss the causes and suggest suitable measures for mitigation. So when earthquake happens, landslide will happen, and then the flow of some of the streams might get blocked. When the flow of the stream will get blocked, the water level will start increasing in that region, and once it comes to the brim, there will be overflow or the blockage may break, leading to outgush of water. The second possibility is a part of Nanda Devi Glacier broke and it fell into the river Dhauliganga. This seems as a possibility because the thermal profile of ice, according to experts, are changing. Earlier, the temperature of ice in these glaciers ranged from -6 to -20 degrees Celsius. But recently, it has come down to -2 degrees Celsius. A third possibility is glacial lake outburst flood. See, when a glacier melts, it gives out a lot of stones, boulders, mud. A lot of debris comes out of it. The larger one, they get collected in the vicinity, and gradually they start forming a border, a barrier to the flow of river. They start blocking the flow of river, and that results in formation of lake. When the pressure on these boulders, these boundaries start to increase, either because of higher level of water or because of expansion of water when it forms ice. and then there is a breakout. The boundary breaks up, the water gushes out, and there is an increased level of flow in the river. Whether it was glacial lake outburst flood, or it was breaking down of part of Nanda Devi Glacier, or it was the result of burst of the natural dams that were formed in the upper catchment area of both these rivers. Since the region is in very interior, it is mostly uninhabited. So it becomes a matter of investigation as to what caused these flash floods. Whatever the reason be, and you have to keep an eye on as the news further develops. But flood is an important theme that is asked in disaster management and also in geography in GS paper 1. In 2016, UPSC has asked this question: major cities of India are becoming vulnerable to flood conditions. In 2020, again, they have asked a similar question: account for huge flooding of million cities in India, including the smart ones like Hyderabad and Pune. If you go through previous year's question paper, you'll find more questions on flood. There are few peripheral issues that I would like to highlight again. See, management of disaster as such is responsibility of a state government. But if the disaster is categorized as severe, then the central government has to provide aid to the state government, and in that process, the central government has to help with manpower. That can come from NDRF, National Disaster Response Force. Center can send some battalion of army. Center can also use paramilitary forces, as ITBP was used in this instance. Cabinet Committee on Security and National Crisis Management Committee are the two bodies which are important in disaster management coordination. Cabinet Committee on Security is headed by Prime Minister, and National Crisis Management Committee is headed by Cabinet Secretary. Central Water Commission is responsible for management of water resources. It also keeps record of water flow level in rivers and also in dams. This is article from page number 4, Beggars Learning Vocational Skills for Life with Dignity. The Rajasthan Skill and Livelihood Development Corporation has started vocational training of beggars. The first group of beggar will be trained in catering skill, and later on more skill enhancement opportunity in the form of electrician, plumber, guard, beautician, etc. will come up. You can use this news article to make a case study and add in your notes. This article is very pertinent for GS paper 2 under the section Welfare Schemes for Vulnerable Sections. And which section is more vulnerable than beggars? In the essay paper of 2015, UPSC gave a topic: lending hands to someone is better than giving a dole. One of the meaning of dole is also benefit paid by the state to unemployed. Topics like this related with social justice keeps coming up in GS paper and essay paper. For example, in 2020 essay paper, UPSC asked a topic: there can be no social justice without economic prosperity. But economic prosperity without social justice is meaningless. In the second part of the topic, you have to focus on high economic growth that India had seen since 2000, enormous growth in the middle class. India although has uplifted millions from poverty, India has seen many satellites getting launched into space, but still the number of beggars have proportionally not gone down. You will find many other essay topics on the same theme. For example, long back, UPSC asked this topic: economic growth without distributive justice is bound to breed violence. In 2018, UPSC asked a topic: poverty anywhere is threat to prosperity everywhere. The point is, this is a recurring theme, and beggary, or importance of giving life with dignity to beggars, can be used as one dimension in these themes. According to the last census of 2001 and the extrapolation of that, there were around 4,10,000 beggars in 2015. West Bengal was the state with highest number of beggars. Beggary as such is still today in India is a criminal act. This was criminalized at the time of British, and Bombay Prevention of Beggary Act 1959 acts as the legislation which is the basis of many state legislation that still criminalizes beggary. Bombay Prevention of Beggary Act 1959 has a definition for beggary, which is very problematic. The Act defines beggary as an activity of having no visible means of subsistence and wandering about or remaining in any public place in such condition or manner as makes it likely that the person doing so exists by soliciting or receiving alms, doles, food, gifts for free, And people who are found begging, they can be arrested without any warrant, can be sent to beggary homes, can be put in jail for 1 to 3 years. See, there are problems with criminalization of beggary on multiple levels. First and foremost, beggary is the indicator of chronic poverty. Criminalizing beggary effectively means you are criminalizing poverty. It is putting double burden on poors. It violates basic human dignity. It violates right to life and personal liberty under Article 21. Many courts have seen the act of beggary through different lenses. Begging can be seen as an act using peaceful method by which person sought to communicate their situation and then solicit some help. Thus, criminalizing beggary is violation of Article 19(1)(a), freedom of speech. As we have seen in the definition of beggary, it includes activity which involves wandering about in public places. Criminalization of wandering about in public places violates Article 19(1)(d), freedom of movement. Additionally, as per many articles under DPSP, government has the mandate to provide social security to all citizens. And beggary is basically the evidence that the state has failed to provide that. Beggary essentially must be seen as failure of governance. So criminalization of beggary is the transfer of liability from the government to the citizen. From the sociological perspective, if you see, there exist large number of communities such as Gujars, the Bakarwals, who keep on moving from one place to another. This is how they survive. This is how they live. Many such communities have no conventional means of subsistence. In the definition of beggary, you have activities involving no visible means of subsistence. Many of the tribal community will be easily included in this definition of beggary. That is why in 2016, the central government made an effort to decriminalize beggary and rehabilitate beggars. In the Parliament Person in Destitution, Protection, Care and Rehabilitation Model Bill 2016 was introduced. However, the bill is yet to see the light of the day. There is a need that this model bill is enacted and the state government then have their own legislation as per this Model Act of Central Government. Under GS Paper 3, in Internal Security section, you cover the problem of trafficking. It is true that there are existence of organized beggary, which involves human trafficking. And that is a major problem, not beggary on individual level. The two must not be mixed. Law on trafficking must be strengthened, administration must be beefed up, and begging rackets must be cracked down. But individual beggary that comes out of abject poverty, that must be seen with an empathetic lens. Many of the state governments, especially Odisha and Bihar, have come up with model laws. The Mukhyamantri Bhiksha Vitri Nirvan Yojana of Bihar government is one of a model for protection and empowerment of beggars. Once the Model Act of the central government is enacted, then the state government must take initiative to empower and rehabilitate the beggars. This article is from page number 8. Kuruba community in Karnataka took out a massive rally. They are demanding to be included in the scheduled tribe list. Jenu Kurubas and Kadu Kurubas are tribal community in the state of Karnataka. Kurubas are already in the ST list. But the thing is, declaration of scheduled tribe of any community or part of community is done on a regional basis. It is not done on all India basis or even for the entire state. A community or part of community can be declared as scheduled tribe even in few districts. For instance, Kurubas are scheduled tribe in Kodagu district. They are scheduled tribe in entire state of Kerala, but they are not scheduled tribe for rest of Karnataka. Incidentally, the Chief Minister of Karnataka also belonged to this community. As the news article says, the community wants the state government to recommend to the center for inclusion of Kurubas into the state list. It means that the center has authority to declare a community or part of a community as scheduled tribe. Declaration of community or part of community as scheduled tribe is dealt by Article 342. The first clause of Article 342 reads like this. The President may, with respect to any state or union territory, after consultation with the governor thereof by public notification, specify the tribes or tribal communities or part of group within tribes, which shall for the purpose of this constitution be deemed to be scheduled tribes in relation to that state or union territory. Then the clause 2 says that the parliament may by law include in or exclude from the list of scheduled tribes as specified in the notification issued under clause 1. The long and short of it is this. Who declares scheduled tribe? President. Under which article? Article 342. Does the parliament has any power in this regard? Yes. The parliament may subsequently modify the notification by the president, but that has to be done via an act. The parliament may include or exclude any tribe or any part of the tribe from the list. And the listing of scheduled tribe is done on state, union, territory wise and not on all India basis. And even within the state, a tribe can be declared as scheduled tribe only in some part of the state. But however, Article 342 does not give the criteria for declaration of a tribe as scheduled tribe. However, certain characteristics of these communities are considered essential to be declared as scheduled tribe. For example, they must have primitive traits. Like what? Like geographical isolation, like use of agriculture for subsistence. Like distinctive culture from the mainstream. They must be shy of contact with the mainstream community. And they must be economically backward. For the prelims examination, you must note that scheduled tribes are notified in 30 states and union territories. There is no notified scheduled tribe community in the state of Haryana and Punjab and UT of Chandigarh, Delhi and Puducherry. As per the last census of 2011, Madhya Pradesh has the highest population of scheduled tribes. And overall, in India, 8.6% of population are scheduled tribe. There is an additional concept of particularly vulnerable tribal groups. This is not a constitutional concept. Constitution does not mention this term, but on the recommendation of Beggars Commission back in 1960-61, this additional category was mentioned. This additional category was created because it was felt within scheduled tribe there are certain categories who are more vulnerable. Initially they were called as primitive tribal groups, but calling them primitive is pejorative. It sounds insulting, hurting their dignity, because many of the tribal groups culturally, even on the basis of scientific knowledge, are very advanced. So later they were renamed as particularly vulnerable tribal group. You must note that scheduled tribes is a constitutional concept. They are declared by president and parliament can amend that declaration. But particularly vulnerable tribal groups are declared by Ministry of Home Affairs. It is not a constitutional concept. Altogether, there are 75 tribal groups who have been declared as particularly vulnerable tribal group. Odisha is the state that houses highest number of particularly vulnerable tribal group, 13, followed by Andhra Pradesh, 12. Incidentally, Jainu Kurubas, they are identified as particularly vulnerable tribal group. But as is the case with scheduled tribes, declaration of particularly vulnerable tribal group is also on regional basis. In 2019, UPSC has asked this question. Consider the following statements about particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Number 1, they reside in 18 states and 1 UT. True, as we have just seen. A stagnant or declining population is one of the criteria for determining particularly vulnerable tribal group status. The statement sounds very benign, you can go for it. Actually, there are 4 criteria. One is a pre-agricultural level of technology, a stagnant or declining population, extremely low literacy, and a subsistence level of economy, economic backwardness. Third statement was there are 95 particularly vulnerable tribal groups officially notified in the country so far. UPSC has started to give numbers incorrect, which previously it didn't do. They have started to do so from 2016. The number as we saw is 75, not 95. So third statement was incorrect. If you remove third statement, you will reach to the right option, C. The topic scheduled tribe is very important for prelims, for mains. In mains, both for GS paper 1, for GS paper 2. In GS paper 1 in 2017, UPSC asked, what are the 2 major legal initiatives by the state since independence addressing discrimination against the scheduled tribes? Previously in 2016, they asked, why are tribals in India referred to as the scheduled tribes? Indicate the major provisions enshrined in the Constitution of India for their upliftment. Provisions enshrined in the Constitution, but the question came in GS paper 1. We have seen in the beginning that President comes out with a notification listing down the scheduled tribes. Schedule actually means a list, and that list of scheduled tribes also goes into one of the schedules of the Indian Constitution. and that's why they are called as the scheduled tribes. This article is from page number 7, the cost of internet shutdown. India is a country that sees highest number of internet shutdown. In last 4 years, there have been 400 internet shutdowns. The estimated cost of these internet shutdown is 20,000 crore. Various right groups, including that of UN, have termed these shutdowns as collective punishment of people. From the exam perspective, regarding internet shutdowns, you need to know Anuradha Bhasin versus Union of India case, where Supreme Court took a stand that use of internet to exercise fundamental right can be considered in itself as a fundamental right. You have to understand this thin line. Use of internet as such in isolation is not a fundamental right. That means right to internet is not a fundamental right. But using internet to communicate under right to freedom of speech and expression will come under fundamental right. Similarly, using internet to carry on some trade or business activity under Article 19(1)(g) will be taken as fundamental right. Then you need to know the procedure by law which is there for internet shutdown. In 2017, Government of India notified temporary suspension of telecom services, Public Emergency or Public Services Rules 2017. This rule for temporary suspension of telecom services comes under sections. This rule for temporary suspension of telecom services is drawn from Section 7 of Telegraph Act 1885. And all these issues have already been covered in the DNS dated 23rd July 2020. I am attaching here the clipping from that DNS. You can listen if you have missed it then. The thing is, mobile phone networks, internet services, and even LAN connectivity in many parts of the state was suspended since 4th of August 2019. This led to many petitions being filed in the Supreme Court, and finally Supreme Court gave a judgment that is popularly called as Anuradha Bhasin versus Union of India judgment. This is an important case for the coming mains exam. In this judgment, Supreme Court directed the government to form a committee to review its decision of initially blanket ban on internet and then only giving limited internet, and still the state does not have 4G internet connectivity. But the committee was not formed, and hence a contempt petition was again filed in the Supreme Court. But for exam perspective, what is important is to know what Supreme Court said in Anuradha Bhasin case. Supreme Court observed that Article 19 of Indian Constitution mandates right to information as an important facet of right to freedom of speech and expression. And in the digital era, internet is the source of right to information. The court also asked the central government to produce orders of internet shutdown, and there were none. There is no provision in the law for a blanket ban of internet in the complete state. Supreme Court held that the state has to give specific grounds on which the blanket ban of internet can be done so that it overrides the public interest. The court also observed that internet has become a very important tool for trade and commerce. There are certain trades after globalization which are completely dependent on internet. Therefore, the freedom of trade and commerce through the medium of internet is also constitutionally protected under Article 19(1)(g. Obviously, subjected to the restrictions provided under Article 19(6). So, internet is not only the source for the right to freedom of speech and expression, but also to right to freedom of trade and commerce. Court held that there was need to balance freedom of liberty and state's action on security, and that balance will come from the application of principle of proportionality. The principle of proportionality was highlighted in case Puttaswamy judgment. The famous Puttaswamy judgment was on right to privacy. There the court held that the principle of proportionality must apply in taking the citizens' data. You will do surveillance, you will collect data only as much as is required, so that you do not over impinge on the fundamental right of right to privacy. Similarly, here itself, what should have been the case? So much of restriction has been done as is required for security. If you do a blanket ban on the complete state, that is not justified. More so when there is no report, there is no committee recommendation for this. There is no study saying that internet ban will reduce terrorism. On the contrary, it is suggested that internet can be used to curb terrorism by suppressing, by fighting fake news. In 2017, Telecom Services Public Emergency or Public Services Rules was devised. Before 2017, the internet shutdown was done in ad hoc manner. It could also be done by district magistrate, by chief minister, by central government, whoever wishes in ad hoc manner they used to do. But Supreme Court insisted on rule of law and a detailed procedure for this. So in 2017, a detailed procedure under Telecom Services Public Emergency or Public Services Rules 2017 was laid down. Supreme Court reiterated in Anuradha Bhasin case that this rule is the only procedure to be followed to suspend internet services. But the shutdown did not happen as per the rules. So the government could not produce the orders for shutdown. The court asked to publish all the orders banning internet. It was not done, and later 2G services was given, but still the state does not have the 4G services. The author says that in the case the court did not hold the government accountable. Instead, it ordered a weekly review by a committee set up under the temporary suspension of Telecom Services Rules 2017. What happens under this rule is, first the Home Secretary will take the decision of internet shutdown. Then a committee will be formed to review the decision of the Secretary, that whether it followed rule of law and had due diligence or it was taken arbitrarily. So a committee under the temporary suspension of Telecom Services Rules 2017 was asked to be formed, and the job of the committee will be to regularly review the decision and whether the ban is still maintainable. But the committee was not formed. And when the contempt petition came to Supreme Court, the government said that committee was formed and detail of that will be given in a sealed envelope. However, in the Aruna Bhasin case, the government said to publish all the orders. So in this context, giving detail of a committee in sealed envelope does not make any sense. Whatever the technicality may be, the fact of the matter is the state does not have 4G internet services, and that is why the author asks a rhetorical question. Are the people of Jammu and Kashmir subjects to be ruled over, or they are citizens who possess rights against the state? This news article is from page number 6. Infrastructure push now, fiscal consolidation later. See, you know that COVID-19 pandemic has led to twin shock to the Indian economy, the demand and supply side disruption. And the economy has been expected to have registered a negative GDP growth of around 7% in the fiscal year 2020-21. Hence, the main challenge before the finance minister in the union budget was to revive the economy by boosting expenditure. This article highlights that the budget has provided reasonable stimulus to growth by enhancing expenditure for the creation of infrastructure. And this will have multiplier effect in the economy in terms of increasing demand, boosting investment, and creating more employment opportunities. However, the fiscal deficit is quite high, 9.5% of GDP. Hence, the article takes a view that the government must focus on bringing down the fiscal deficit once the economy revives. The other aspect that the article touches upon are national monetization policy, asset reconstruction company. These two aspects have already been covered in our special video for budget by Baswa sir. This is already up on YouTube. The other aspect that the article touches upon is public finance. And this part will be covered in our next video to be uploaded on the coming Saturday, 13th February. So these concepts related with the budget, it will be better if you learn from the master himself. We have now reached to the end of the session. Answer to yesterday's question of the day and today's question of the day appears on your screen. Please attempt the question, comment the right answer below, and do attempt the DNS quiz on the eLearn platform. Goodbye, take care.